This might be a good time to remind you that my lectures don't do the planets justice. I've got playlists available from the course website that I just encourage you, if you have the time, to look at these documentaries that are so well done on the planets and other things related to astronomy throughout the course. But Saturn's rings, yes, actually you can see them from our perspective, from Earth. And they aren't solid, they're made up of tiny little particles. These particles are generally kind of like little icy chunks of, and it's relatively thin. The Saturn's rings are relatively thin. They are located in the vicinity of Saturn's equator. And not only are Saturn's rings made up of tiny particles, but these particles are orbiting Saturn. It's just going very fast. So this sort of kind of haze looking here, those are little particles orbiting Saturn. And sorry, I'll go back. Now, this semester, I'm not going to necessarily emphasize there are some gaps and divisions, major division. There's a major division and a major gap in Saturn's rings. There's actually a structure, a name structure to Saturn's rings. So this is an artist's rendition of those kind of icy, rocky particles that are orbiting the planet. Remember, all of the gaseous planets have rings. It's just that Saturn's are so reflective and so actually kind of fresh, because we're thinking that over time Saturn's rings will actually kind of be absorbed by the planet, or just kind of wander off. Probably absorbed by the planet is the best way to put that. So I mentioned that Saturn's rings actually have some gap in a division, and kind of is in sections. But here we see that a major gap here is created by one of its medium-sized moons that actually kind of clears a path in the material that make up Saturn's rings. And this is neat because you can kind of see a shadow cast by the debris that's kind of knocked above and below the plane of the disk of the ring. So, oops, yeah, there we go. Actually, here are the 4 Jovian planets. So this is Jupiter. You can kind of see the ring feature around Jupiter. This is Saturn. And isn't this beautiful? Notice that we have actually the planet Saturn is casting a shadow on a portion of its rings. The sun must be over here. Isn't that beautiful? And then we have Uranus, and it has rings, and Neptune also has a ring system. So it's believed, I mentioned that that Saturn hasn't always had a beautiful ring, or kind of in the vicinity of its equator, and nor will it always have a ring. And one way or the other, it's believed that actually the rings are broken up moons that used to be in orbit about the planets. Okay. We don't think that the rings were left over because they didn't accrete into a moon, okay? Because we think that over time that those little particles that make up the ring, disk of rings, would have gone away. They couldn't maintain that orbit for that long. So then these rings must be replenished over time. So, like this last point up here says, it's most likely that actually the rings that are around these gaseous planets are the result of impacts with Jovian moons. So kind of from left to right, you see the formation of rings. So kind of an assortment of moons actually create those rings. And so I like this last statement up here. It says, Saturn's incredible rings may be an accident of our time. How poetic.